You tell me when. It says we're live now. Does that mean we're live now?
It quite potentially does, but let's hold on just a moment.
Yeah, we're definitely live. No. All right, you want me to just start?
I do not.
Okay.
I want you to pause our mics
Okay.
or mute.
The following program is a Dragon Den Sports presentation.
What are you doing over there, girl talk?
We're mixing.
Oh, why?
I don't know. Does that work?
Holy fuck, team. Holy fuck.
Emergency stream, emergency podcast. Always wanted to do one. Always thought it would be a little quicker. But you have family.
Yeah, sorry about that. Did have to get a little of that out of the way.
I was asleep
You were
last
asleep.
night.
I was asleep last night. So last night I fell asleep in the kid room. We'll make this quick.
Dude, this will be one of those moments, though, where people are going to... Where were you?
Oh, 100%.
What were you doing?
Yeah.
Where were you? Yeah, well, I don't know. I woke up.
You know the deal where you look at your phone, you didn't plug it in, and somehow it's waits right until you wake up. It's on for like 30 seconds, and then it dies. It was at 1%. I look at my text message. I'm like, what the fuck? I have like 30 text messages. I assume someone's dead, and then my phone died. So I had to wait like 3 minutes for it to turn back on, and I couldn't. I still, as all of us, can't believe it. It's the worst. It's the worst thing to ever happen to me in my sports life, and it's not close. I have no idea what to do. I don't know. I think I'm like everybody. I don't know. Do we talk Lakers?
I was trying to think of the worst Dallas sports moment ever, and I would think Jimmy Johnson leaving the Cowboys would be right there.
Yeah. But I don't. I would have to go back in time
They
and
had
try
just
to recall.
won two. Like, why? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Wait.
But they were still so set up to win, as evidenced by the fact that they went to a conference championship and then won a Super Bowl. You know, with Barry, with Barry. So I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah, they were very set up to win in the short term, but then really, we're still looking for that next one.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the same kind of a thing. Maybe the Anthony Davis, not that bad in the short term. If he's playing like he's playing now.
He's not playing now.
Well, he's been very good when
I know.
he is playing. I actually... So my thing has been, let's ingest all the media I can. What are all the smart NBA people saying? What are the local NBA people saying? What are
a good soak?
And it is almost 100%. This is baffling. You just don't trade a player of this caliber at his age, you just don't. It's just not done unless it's demanded by the
agent,
by the
player,
player or whatever.
team. Yeah, or team meaning the people around the player. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen because these guys don't come along, and I'm sad. I'm legitimately sad. No to the, as I told you, 50 people who are like, buddy, you all right? Like, yeah, I'm back on it, guys. I can't handle this. But I am legitimately sad. I mean, the guy brought me a lot of joy, brought a lot of us a lot of joy, brought people closer together. I watch the Mavs basically every morning. Like, I watch every minute of every game. I write about him. I obsess about him like everybody. And he's a guy, Luka, who there's great players, and then there's the next level of guys who actually make people in a city feel something, feel a certain type of way. Like, people felt a certain type of way about Dirk, but with Dirk, it was about the story, and that took time. Like, I would contend that the Dirk love really went off the charts after they lost in 06. But the Dirk love was really kind of about a story of like perseverance and, hey, I want that guy to get one. The complete opposite of Dirk was true with Luka, in that Luka showed up and had no fear. Dirk wanted to go back. Luka showed up and had no fear, and the first reports we heard about him once he got to Dallas were from when they were running 5-on-5 in practice, in camp, and it was really not about what he was doing on the floor, pass-wise, shot-wise. It was, this guy's a motherfucker. Like, he already knows he's the best player on the team. He acts like he's the best player in the league. That is an extremely unique situation. So when you get a guy like that, hell, I would walk into the arena when I went to games with my chest puffed out a little bit. Like, yeah, fuck it, I might drop 50 in here tonight. He's a guy who made the city feel a certain way, and a confidence and a buzz. Like, there's great players who put up a lot of numbers and win and don't give you that. You just, in any sport, there's like 3 of those guys every decade or two, and you had one of them. So even if these were like widgets, it would be a bad trade on paper. Luka's production, faults, everything. Traded for Anthony Davis, production, faults, everything, and a first-round pick on paper is a bad trade. If you factor in that these are not widgets, these are people that mean something to a community, that means something to the rest of the team, once you factor that in, it's unconscionable to move on from him at this point. And we can get into all the reasons. None of them really make any sense.
He will score 80 against the Mavs.
I hope he does.
Because that's what you say when he's an FU guy. That's who he is. You don't anger him. Don't. Anyway, I was saying I listened to it and ingested all that I could, and called my buddy who works for the Cavs, because I like to get his,
I think they're up 20 on the Mavs right now, by the way.
His NBA takes. And he said he likes it for the Mavs. I was like, wait, what? How are you saying this? Why? And his thought is just like very short term. He can see where this is a win, where Anthony Davis is great, where it fits with this Mavs team. But I have to agree with everything you said. It's not just about one guy for a year, or it's about so much more. It's about the franchise. It's about the way he saw Dirk. I kind of come down with this. This is where I've come down in the end, is that now this is the second seemingly indefensible move by a Dallas sports team in a couple of weeks. The first one is hiring Brian Schottenheimer when you have all the resources, when you're the most valuable franchise in sports. To make a move like that is, I think, a terrible, terrible move. Nowhere near this. But it feels like the move was made. There's a lot of financial reasons for that. Is Jerry Jones cash poor? Is he just stingy with his cash? But it feels like that could be the only reason because you heard that Anthony Davis waived his trade kicker?
What a guy.
Which is a $6 million bonus if he does get traded. Why would he just waive that, though? He waived it, and it keeps the Mavs under the cap.
Under the tax, I think.
Yeah, the apron, whatever. The point is that it was a money-saving situation. He's Luka up for the Supermax this summer. But yes, if you want to get into, some people are saying, well, it's because they're worried about his conditioning and guaranteeing that money. He's, even with bad conditioning.
So let's look at the results.
He's who he is. Like, imagine if the light bulb does go off.
Which, Dirk, I've referenced this many times. He was on bad radio every year, and I heard him say multiple times, I didn't really start taking my body seriously until my late 20s, maybe even 30. Luka's 25. They were in the finals last year. So let's talk about the short term. So the team you have right now was in the finals last year. They were playing at a 60-win pace before a rash of injuries. Probably, statistically, will end up being the most injured season in Mavs history, if not at least the last 2 decades. So the team you had, when healthy, had shown the ability to be a 58, 60-win team. You were in the finals last year. You were playing really well whenever the team was healthy this year. So now you're saying you're closer in the short term now? Well, the only way to be closer in the short term now is to be the odds-on favorite to win the fucking finals now. How are you closer in the short term when you were there last year? So if you're closer now, you better be, like, actually in the finals this year. And you better be in the finals talk next year.
Yeah, you were there last year, and you made the team better in the offseason.
You made the team better. Lively's an internal upgrade that's only getting better. But then even consider this. What if they win this year? I don't give a shit. I don't care. And I'm not alone in that. Like, there's 2 games on the calendar for the rest of the regular season. I had intentions of buying tickets, go with a buddy, go with the wife, always go to 1 or 2 playoff games. I don't care. I don't want to go. I don't want to watch this game that they're playing right now tomorrow morning like I normally would.
Anthony Davis isn't our guy.
No, that's the thing.
I'm kind of with you here. Even if they win and the thing is, for this to be a win of a trade,
they have to.
They must win the championship.
Yeah,
in the next 2 years.
Yeah, and that's really all it is. And see, you say short term, and I could see that argument that they're going to be very good that your friend is making. The problem is Kyrie can opt out this summer if he wants. Like, he's up now. He would only opt out if he thinks he can get more money. So maybe he looks at $45 million and says,
well, his negotiating power now with the Mavs.
For sure, but this ain't Kyrie of a couple years ago.
They should max him out today. Why wait till the summer?
Yeah.
You absolutely have to. What if you lost Kyrie?
What if he doesn't want to be here? If I were him, I'd be like, what? This is what I signed up for? All this? I got to constantly talk? Not got to. I believe he believes it. But this is my hermano. Our families got to know each other. What makes this organization special from other ones I've been in is that it's a family. And that shit doesn't live here anymore. For all their faults, the old regime did things in one way, and clearly this one does it in a different way. That holdovers and family and the Mark Dirk left, none of that shit matters to them at all anymore. It clearly doesn't. Because the problem is they're set up in this short term. Let's say Kyrie opts in or he re-signs today even. They're good for 2 years. Luka will be 27 or 28 at that time.
Yeah.
When they get the pick they're getting in 2029, Luka will be in his age 29, 2030 season. So Luka's and the Lakers, we think this is the last time the Lakers are going to pull some shit like this. They're going to be good while they have Luka. So your pick there will suck. Oklahoma City has your 2028 first round pick in a swap. So almost certainly Kyrie and AD's effectiveness are done then. You're a bottom 10 team. Why don't you ship that shit right up 35 to Oklahoma City, and they'll send you back their 29th overall pick they just got for finishing with the 4th best record in the league. Their rebuild here is fucked. The only thing they have is the next 2 years where they have to win a title, and then maybe we'll all feel like I guess it was worth it. But I'm not sure I ever will. Not. Not to the degree I would have if the guy that we'd gone through the battles with had won. This is the worst thing
there's something to that.
that can happen to you as a sports fan, outside of somebody dying.
There's a lot to that.
The enjoyment part?
Just have gone through the battles with this guy. We're the ones who drafted this guy.
Yeah.
We were laughing at these other teams that would actually pass on him in the draft, or this one dumb team that would trade this guy. And then you're that team now.
It's just, if you want to get into the sort of reverse engineering of the narrative conditioning, Dave McMenamin had an article this morning that said that he was up in the 260s while he's been hurt. And I don't care because he was on track to come back February 8th. His dad, I believe, even has been on Slovenian TV tonight, for the game being broadcast over there since it's a day game in the States. Talks on with him. Here's Luka's dad, who we know is a bit of a wild card, but still. With this trade, hypocrisy from the Mavs hurts me personally. I think Luka absolutely did not deserve this. I know he sacrificed a lot. I know Luka really respected Dallas. He respected the whole city. He helped children in it. It was not a problem for him to go to hospitals and charity events. He played 100 games last season for like 40 minutes a game. That's a little exaggerated, but not that much. Constantly being doubled. I feel like it's really unfair from certain people from Dallas. He said his injury is basically gone. He's already training. Everything is going as planned and is fine. So are you telling me that his calf strains happen because he's out of shape? It's possible. If your frame can't handle that weight, fine. He's going to miss 20 games a year. If you traded him for a guy who was as good as him, who played 80 games a year maybe, to trade him for a guy who's 7 years older, 6 years older, who also misses a ton of games and isn't in his stratosphere as a player, blaming the conditioning thing is insane. Oh, okay, you want defense. You're going to be a defense team now, according to Tim McMahon. That's what Nico's saying, and he mentioned that a little bit in his press conference. Yeah, Kyrie Irving's kind of a turnstile. I don't know if anybody's noticed. Klay Thompson, not really guarding anybody like he used to. Okay, so they're not going to be like a top 5 defensive team. They may be able to be top 10, but they're going to backslide so much on offense. It's not even anywhere close to worth it. Not even close.
So the trade is Luka, Maxey, Markieff Morris for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the Lakers' number 1 pick in 2029. Also, the Jazz are involved somehow.
Danny Ainge got
and the Mavs ended up having to send a second there. So this is one of those things like where Gobert was traded, and I think 4 first-round picks went to Utah.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, but when you add in swaps.
And then there's swaps, and the thought was, wow, if Gobert can get that now, just imagine what they could get if they ever wanted to trade Luka.
I mean, Mikal Bridges got 5 firsts. Mikal Bridges, a guy who many casual NBA fans are like, which one? Not the bad one?
So one of the great points I've heard is, well, what if you had called every NBA team just to indicate we want to trade Luka? At least you would then have an auction.
Well, so I've been trying to work my way through that, right? Because the reporting is that Nico and Rob Pelinka, the Lakers general manager, started talking, quote, basketball a month ago. And I don't know that the quotes on this do any favors to Nico. He said, this is to the Morning News. Then all of a sudden we're like, would you ever do this? Nah, you're joking, right? Interesting. Maybe I would. Now, I don't know who's who in that conversation. But if you're trying to propose a deal to somebody and they're like, are you fucking joking? Then it's probably tap the brakes time. But my thought is like, okay, so they engaged the Lakers. There's reports that there was at least 1 or 2 other teams that they called, and those teams said no, which is insane to me. Like, I'd love to know what offer that was that another team turned down for Luka, like what the Mavs were asking for.
I would think Wemby and Jokic are the only 2 guys in the whole league I would think you would say, no, I don't even want to talk.
Yeah, and then that would be the right decision, But I also,
But like if it was Milwaukee with Giannis, they'd be like, yeah, Luka.
you'd have to consider it.
I'm going to yes,
Age-wise?
because now that's the whole bit. He's
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
He's 25. I think I heard. I've listened to a lot of stuff, but what was the thing as far as Luka has been an All NBA first team player 5 times. There are 5 players in the entire NBA now, currently, who have made 5 first team NBA All NBA teams. There's only 5 current players. Luka's one. LeBron, Giannis, KD, and James Harden are the others.
So he's on average 8 years younger than those other 4?
Yeah, the youngest there, I think, is Giannis,
Yeah.
who's like 30, 31. And everybody else, LeBron's obviously 40.
Yeah, you don't. He's going to end up with 9 first-team All-NBAs because that's the trajectory that he's on. And also, this isn't like a can't win the big one. Time to pull the plug. They're just getting started. You know what I mean? It's not like they've been in the finals 4 times and they just kept coming up short and you go back to the drawing board like, fuck, what are we going to do? Like the Bills thinking about firing Sean McDermott or like, hell, even Embiid in Philadelphia. You know, if they were like, look, this just isn't going to work. We've tried so many different permutations of it. You're hurt all the time. We don't know if you give a shit. We're blowing it up.
Right.
They've only been going this way.
I heard somebody say, what if this wasn't, they're worried about having an Embiid situation, but Embiid is not Luka either.
No, and Embiid was also didn't play his entire first season or 2 in the States. Like he had injury troubles that were known. Huge injury troubles. Not like he missed a couple of playoff games and he missed, 15 games a year during the regular season.
But
there's nothing.
But how is this too? So we were like, oh, he get 10 first-round picks. So they only got 1 first-round pick, and the Lakers have 2. Did Nico ask for the other one? And they were like, no.
I'm hoping he had to have.
And in fact, he's like, actually, I need a second from you. These other teams, you know how the Mavs have thrown in a bunch of seconds too?
Yeah.
And look at the Timberwolves, or look at certain teams are like, boy, they have 70 seconds in the next 5 years. Like that's another bit. Like to get, because you can get some good value there, and you end up getting a guy like a Jalen Brunson or somebody, Jokic.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
Max Christie. Huh?
Okay.
Second round pick.
The point is, so the Mavs ended up having to give up a second to make the deal. Like they were so horny to make the deal work. Like, no, I don't need 2 first. Like the Lakers don't have enough. They didn't have enough to make a trade for Kyrie.
That's insane. To call and be like, what's it going to take? And they're like, why are you the ones asking that? What's it going to take for us to get Luka off our hands?
You say, first of all, every first-round pick you have. Yeah.
I would have liked to get
do they have enough to get Kyrie?
No.
Unless it was Anthony Davis for Kyrie.
Right, because
maybe straight up.
Salaries and the like. But, yeah, I mean, people have obviously now they're pointing their guns not just at Nico.
Even then, you'd be like,
ownership.
Really? This is working really pretty well.
It's working really well.
Like,
and let's go to that. Why'd you bring in Klay Thompson? Why'd you bring in 35-year-old Klay Thompson 6 months ago? Was that for the future?
To play with Luka.
Of course. Have you seen what it looks like when Klay Thompson plays without Luka? The last couple games, he's been able to get his shot and knock him down. But before that, if you look at when Luka played with Klay and when Klay played without Luka, they can't get him the ball. That ain't Kyrie, Kyrie's an incredible scorer. He's a nice facilitator, but he's not Steph. He's not Luka. He's not. Klay is there to catch passes from Luka and shoot them. Lively is there because he's a lob threat, right? He's the perfect big to pair with Luka. Like, that's why he's there. So hey, PJ Washington, that's a guy who fits perfectly with Luka and with Kyrie for that matter. So you could do all this other shit to set it up. Everybody has been saying this is the most talented the Mavericks roster is. They're the least reliant on Luka. Like, Think about that. At the start of the year, it's like, oh, it's going to be a little bit more of an evenly distributed and dispersed offense. It's going to be more democratic. That way we're not super, super reliant on Luka. We were all like, that sounds great, because that's what in the playoffs you're going to have to work it to the weak side, second, third options. Little did we know they were setting themselves up to see what it would look like to play without him. Well, it wasn't good, at least the second time around. Now, it wasn't with Anthony Davis, but you digress. It felt like they had set themselves up with veteran players, with pieces, frankly, that are worth more to the Mavs than they are to other teams. Just like the Saquon Eagles-Giants argument, right? Like, Saquon was worth a lot more to Philadelphia than he was to the Giants. That could be said about P.J. Washington, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, and Quentin Grimes. And Derek Lively, for that matter. Those are guys who, in a vacuum, you're like, I don't know. But here, makes a lot of sense.
Is this the most stunning trade in NBA history?
I think it's got to be on the list of, the top 5 to 10 of stunning trades in the history of sports. So it's got to be a top 3 or 4 NBA one. Yeah, I mean, Jason Kidd in 96 was a big deal.
I mean, he didn't demand a trade. There weren't inklings of it.
That's the craziest part about it. You live in the NBA where you are on eggshells all the time, worried that your star player is going to be like, I hate it here and I want to leave. You know how I know that? Because Anthony Davis did it for a year in New Orleans. It happens all the time. The biggest threat once you get a star is that star becomes disgruntled. You were lucky enough to not have that happening. You had no Harden situation. You had no Kawhi, no Jimmy Butler, no bullshit. He was chill. And you got in front of it to get away from him.
And there's also a difference between a star player and Luka.
Yeah. Yes. There's a list of 3 at any given time, maybe 1. He's a star player. He's the level above star player that is a Luka, but he also has that mental side of him that inspires people to watch him. He makes you proud. Like, seriously, dude, I would go into games like, I'm feeling fucking,
yeah,
I feel good right now. As great as Dirk was, that wasn't always the case with Dirk. But that matters to me. That I think that matters to a basketball team.
No, he's so good that Dirk right away is like, he's better than me. I'm now the second best player in Mavs history.
So are you saying that, like, if you were to settle on a reason, the reason would have to be primarily financial for a couple years from now?
Yeah. Like, it's because this summer the Supermax is looming.
Okay, I'm going to play you a Nico clip.
And I don't know who these new owners are. I clearly don't like them.
No, and the crazy thing is like Rick Welts, the guy they hired to be their CEO and president, who was with the Warriors forever, that guy's like the best in the business. And Machine and I had a chance to sit down with him last week for Round Ball Talk, which I think will air this week. And, my general questions for him was like, I don't think people really understand what you do. Like, what is your job? You don't make trades. You don't play. You don't coach. And it's just kind of understanding how to make the fans happy, whether it's game experience, whether it's business operations. So when they hired him, it made me think like, oh, shit, this ownership group, all they care about is that the fans are happy. That's a move to go get like the best at that. And he spoke to us about it. Like, I think a pro sports team really means something to a city, to a community. It shapes the way people feel. It's weird, but that's the way it is. So you factor that in, and it's shocking. I don't know much about the new owners either, but the difference between Luka taking that Supermax and the tax that it would kick in, and just if they had an average NBA salary bill, was it like 80 million? 90 million? Because you think it's like, okay, a difference between 40 and 50 for his salary and then the tax above that. Do you know how much more above the Supermax Luka generates in revenue? He's one of the guys that, as you've always said, you might have 3 of them, 4 of these ever, that you would pay $1 billion a year to as a team if you could. Like the fact
LeBron's
that
always
fucking
been underpaid.
Tyler Hero gets a max. It's like nobody thinks that's worth that.
The Mavs are currently losing by literally 40 points. It's 85-44.
Yeah. They're banged up. But you know what I'm saying? Like, let's try to make the financial part of it make sense. Okay, so the new owners are like, we've got to save some money. I don't think they understand how the economics of the NBA work because the cash machine you can get, they had, which is a guy that you cannot pay enough money to. Seriously, dude, I don't want to go to a game. Who wants to go to a game right now?
Just to boo. Just to graffiti bad words about Nico, which I guess people have been doing at the AAC.
Here's a little bit from his press conference today. Or let's just start things off with a little fun because that's what he thought he'd do. This is the pregame press conference that Jay Kidd normally does, but of course Nico was there.
All right, I'll open it up. Thanks for everybody for coming. Jay, is it normally this crowded for your pregame speeches?
No, they don't want to hear about everybody who's out.
No, on a serious note, we definitely understand the magnitude of what just transpired.
Yeah, let's read the room, bro.
Don't need it, pal.
Don't need any jokes.
Don't need it. Now, this is the part if we're talking about how they wanted to get in front of the Supermax that's it's gonna haunt me forever.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really like a point. I think it was like, how do we make our team better? There's some unique things about his contract that we had to pay.
Those things are unique because he's one of the best players to ever touch a basketball. It's not like there was some weird shit written into his contract where you're like, if you read the fine print, there's some esoteric stuff in there that we really have to work around. The fine print is you have one of the few basketball players the league allows to make $345 million. That's it.
That we had to pay attention to. There's other teams that were loading up, that he was going to.
Why were they doing that? Why would those other teams have been loading up? Of course they're going to load up.
To make him an offer.
That's why you sign it before he gets to free agency.
Yeah.
Like,
you're almost there.
Loading up, that he was going to be able to decide make his own decision at some point of whether he wants to be here or not, whether we want to supermax him or not, or whether he wants to opt out. So I think we had to take all that into consideration and feel like we got out in front of what could have been a tumultuous summer.
Oh no! You were going to have a tumultuous summer. Oh no! I'm so glad. Then I feel great for you.
Yeah.
That you can kind of breathe
Chill
easy
out
now,
a little bit.
and you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really didn't.
You know who's probably having like a pretty chill time? The GM of the Wizards, because he's like, fuck, we've won 6 games. There's really not much I can do about this. Let's just kind of cash it in.
Yeah, but
Your
that guy's sitting there
summer,
gearing up to try and get Luka.
Yeah,
that guy. Now the poor Lakers that have to worry about the Washington Wizards GM. I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's great to not have a guy people are gearing up to get.
Think about the logic. So here's what happened. You offer him the Supermax this summer, right? If he says yes, it's done and dusted. He's in. He's not getting, there's no free agency, unrestricted. He's not going out there. If he says no, are you telling me that if he said no and said, I'm going to play out another year, or he opts out after the next year, and you want to trade him before he gets to the market, are you saying you would have gotten less than this?
You won't believe what you could have gotten.
Less than this? The only reason to move him now is you're like, shit, maybe we get way out in front. We have a secret little deal with the
Unless this is what do you call it when a injury just keeps getting worse and worse and you can't
it's a degenerative.
Yeah. So unless they know some secret thing about this injury,
it better be like
if he's
100%.
Still in the league at the age of 30, you've lost.
Yes, he will have to retire, forced by his body, or his mind doesn't want to deal with it anymore because he does play in a very physical way. And I've heard guys say before that, when Luka talks about, or he's asked about LeBron and these records, that Luka will joke like, I'm not playing that long. So I could see if he doesn't want to go to 38.
Fine, yeah, if he doesn't
35.
Let's say he plays another 5 years.
Yeah. At this level,
I think I want that.
Yeah. And I think if I don't want that, I want your entire draft for the next 5 years.
So I think we had to take all that into consideration and feel like we got out in front of what could have been a tumultuous summer.
Nico, did you have any indication from him or his representation that he was going to opt out or not take the extension or anything like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nothing verbally that would lead me to believe
You
that.
just assumed that? You just assume. You don't call Bill Duffy, his agent, and say, like, hey, so we're thinking we do the 345 for 5 thing. He'll make the most money of any player ever. Like, does that sound good to you? You didn't wait to hear if Bill Duffy was like, actually, no. He'd rather take $70 million less and go play somewhere else. You just made that assumption? For what? So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense unless they wanted to keep it quiet and they were worried that if the whole league thought they were shopping him, somehow they wouldn't be able to get anything for him. How would that ever happen? I'm almost positive that right now you could go on television, you could get a hold of Luka. We could walk out there with a handgun, shoot him in the leg, and have a live call-in from NBA GMs, and they're like, what will you give for him right now? Bullet's still in there. And typically, those offers are going to be more than 31-year-old Anthony Davis in a first. Like, how bad does it have to be for the value to be that low?
He's about to turn 32 also.
Yeah, Luka's about to turn 26. He's about to turn 32.
Yeah, which is quite a difference.
And you think he's going to be fired up?
Like, 26 is usually where the prime starts in an athlete.
Yeah.
So it's like if you think you've seen, Luka's been out of shape and blah, 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 and he hasn't hit his prime yet. And now,
his prime.
See, and here's what I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the thing you heard with Nash when Luka is winning championships for the Lakers or whatever. I don't want to hear that, oh, yeah, well, then he started taking things seriously and really got –
it's bad.
That wasn't the guy that he was here. Because
No,
I don't buy that with Nash either. I think Nash would have been a great player either way.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that if it does happen that way, the King will get all the credit. There's a feature story that will be
There's
written.
something to my two favorite players on the same team. I wanted it.
I know, but just
Not
the other
this
way around.
way.
I mean, trust me, dude, there's a profile that will be written in 18 months about how Luka naps now and like sleeps 12 hours a night and uses the Calm app and has the chamber that LeBron has. That's going to get written. And they'll be writing that during the finals. Because LeBron's easily got another year left after this year. And then from there, they'll figure it out because people want to play with Luka.
This makes me so mad about the Lakers, too. Just because I don't know. How do they do it? How do they figure out a way? Like all of a sudden they have Kareem. Then they somehow get into the Magic Johnson game when they had Kareem already. Then they somehow land Kobe. Then they somehow land Shaq.
Dude, but the worst part is...
Then they do the Gasol trade, which people said should have been rejected by the league.
Like the Chris Paul one was, because they did also land Chris Paul in his prime, and that got rejected by Stern.
Then they land LeBron, because LeBron's just like, I want to be a Laker.
But here's the thing. And
they
LeBron
just get
was
superstar
like
after superstar.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I feel like in most of those cases, the players involved, I know for sure Anthony Davis, they expressed interest in going to the Lakers. Yeah. Usually you're like, man, fuck, I hope my guy doesn't want to move to L.A., Miami, or New York. Because it does happen.
Yeah.
But this time that didn't happen. Like he just said, it's not like Luka has been crowing about how he wants to get to L.A. That's just what cynical people have been saying.
Yeah, it's like, no.
They just went ahead and did it.
I think he just wanted to play with Dorian. Dorian Finney-Smith is a
I can't
Laker
blame
right
him. I know. I can't blame him. And here's the thing. When I watch Dorian with a Lakers jersey on, I'm like, ooh, don't love that. They're like, okay, what if we put the whole needle in your arm right now? It's crazy. Like him saying like, oh, we wanted to get in front of it. Hey, you know what? I bought a house near the ocean where there's a lot of hurricanes. There hadn't been one yet. But I'm worried about it. So I hired a fucking bulldozer and some fire hoses to come just kind of simulate a hurricane, knock all my shit down, and just get in front of it.
I just hope that Nico is taking one for the ownership here.
It's, yeah.
I hope.
Right. Let us hate him.
Because I hope that he didn't just come up with this on his own and then convince ownership.
Oh, here, listen to this.
To trade.
And who knows, this is all public posturing. They're probably not saying whatever, but he's asked what he said to what the owner said when he brought it up.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's
the first question is, what do you say to fans? You know this one.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. We believe that it sets us up to win not only now but also in the future. And when we win, I believe the frustration will go away.
Nico, what was the conversation like with Patrick Dumont when we introduced this idea to him?
The first time he laughed at me. No, I mean
hilarious. So
I feel like Carlisle laughing there.
Yeah, the guy who, admittedly is new to basketball. You, basketball lifer, you played ball, you played overseas, you were at Nike forever. You got these relationships, you know the culture, you see how the NBA works. And then the guy who's new to basketball, you went to him and he was like, can you even do that? I don't know much, but I know you don't trade that. And Nico's like, no, actually, it's going to be great because we're going to play him at the 4. Lively's going to be at the 5. And I'm tired of Luka weighing 265 pounds whenever he can't train because he's hurt. So we're actually going to try to shoot for the 6th seed for the next couple years. And, when he only wins one title in LA, I'll have been right. And I don't know how the whole move the team deal factors into this at all. Here's the best thing with help from the listeners and people on Twitter that I can come up with. That they're – because in my mind, I'm like, well, if you want to move the team, wouldn't you just want to, move the team with a superstar and let him just be the face of the franchise in Las Vegas? That sounds awesome. So the idea is they want to completely just nuke goodwill among the fan base and the public here in Dallas. They want a new arena. It doesn't look like the gambling thing's going all that well. So then they put the new arena on a referendum and have it voted on among the public in one of the election cycles. But the public fucking hates the Mavs at that point, so they turn it down. They overwhelmingly vote against the ballot measure, and then they use that as an excuse to move the team. That seems like a lot. It really does.
Really, though, that makes more sense to me right now than just trading Luka Doncic for what you traded him for.
Yeah. I mean,
that absolutely makes more sense to me. I'm more inclined to believe that.
Well, for that to be true, that means that Dumont and, Miss IDF must have somehow communicated to Nico, we're not offering that Supermax. So you're going to need to figure out a way to get something for him because you know that if we don't offer it this summer, everybody's going to be freaked out. He's going to be freaked out. And that's when the tumult starts, right, is when you don't offer it. So if he was told, hey.
Right. That's what I want that to be true.
Yes.
Only then I can
be pissed at them.
Yeah, and I don't know who they are anyway, except for their political ties, which.
You know that they're into real estate and gambling and that it's not like they came from the sports world. I would say Cuban, even though I would say he came from the sports world because he was a fan. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I would think Cuban would never do this.
No, I think he commented, but was just I didn't know. But I never would have thought he would have known. But no, I don't think he would do this. I don't think Jerry would do this. He understands at least that. You got to have the star players that the fans love. Because even when shit is dire, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, even if they're good. Let's say they're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nico's kind of new to basketball, too, a little bit. Do you think that he thinks, how they have to draft players every year because there's a draft? Does he think you have to make a big deal at the trade deadline every year?
Yeah, I mean, what? It's 7 in a row, so that's every year that he's been here.
He has made a huge... He does. He did the Kristaps deal, did the Kyrie deal.
Last year it was, PJ and Gaff. And that's why it's crazy to me because most of the stuff he's done, it's worked out pretty well. They traded in the draft and got Lively. It's a great pick. And pretty much everything they've done for the last couple of years has worked out to some extent.
What would this be like if you traded Patrick Mahomes after he lost the Super Bowl to Tom Brady? I don't know.
You can't win it. We can't win it. We're a little worried. He's been banged up. We don't think that body projects well. Because it's funny you say that because obviously
we're going to trade him for Aaron Rodgers.
It's not that far off. It's not that far off.
But Kansas City, you also have to throw in a pick. Because
oh man. Yeah, and the funny thing is a lot of people replied to me like in addition to maybe we can hope that we find out that the team is actually hemorrhaging money or the family and that there's a financial reason for this. Everybody's searching for it's got to be something more than just you want more defense and you're worried about his conditioning, which by the way,
has to be
Nico
more.
didn't comment on the conditioning part.
But I'm right there with him. It has to be more.
Yeah, so the other more is like now you do kind of have to hope that there's like a major medical situation, as you said, a degenerative situation where he's not going to be right ever again. I've seen no indication of that. He is going to be back in the next week. It's
Do you have the I saw a quote, but I didn't see the press conference. Do you have the thing where he's like talking about the future and now, and he's like, well, 10 years from now, it's
if you pair him with Kyrie and the rest of the guys, he fits right along with our time frame to win now. And
meaning he's also pretty old. Where is the problem that you think Luka's timeline doesn't match up because he's 25? Because he's already better than all the other guys who are 30, outside of maybe one.
With our time frame to win now and win in the future. And the future to me is 3-4 years from now. The future 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't think they probably bury me and Jay by then, or we bury ourselves.
Yes.
Well, the funny thing about the saying that you think the future is 3 to 4 years from now, you could reasonably assume that the age 26, 27, 28, and 29 seasons of Luka Doncic's career were going to be the best ones. So when you say you're about the future, and the future to you is the near future of 3 to 4 years, that's his prime. This is the part we've been waiting to get to. Seriously, dude, for the last 4 or 5 years, basically since Luka came in the league, every year we get pissed about moves that they make, that they didn't make. And I keep coming back to in my head, I'm like, this is a journey. Nobody wins it when they're 22. Nobody wins it when they're 23. We're just getting started to the part where you're like, oh, shit, now he's 25. He's getting it. They're figuring out what to put around him. This is the part where you start winning big. They were actually ahead of schedule by some measures, being in the conference finals a couple years ago. This is the time I've been waiting on of all right, now we're good to go. And that's when they decided to pull the plug. And decided to pull the plug without telling the player, without telling the coach, without telling Kyrie. Hell, as of this morning, I'm pretty sure Nico said he still hadn't talked to Luka. You don't think guys around the league take note of that?
He didn't call Luka last night.
Said he'd only talk to Duffy.
You telling me that Kid didn't know about this before?
Kid said he found out at the, quote, 11th hour right before it broke. He was definitely not consulted. It was done when he found out. And Nico said, I don't have to ask him about specific players because I know the type of players that he likes. And of course,
then
he loves Anthony Davis. He coached him in LA and
I'm clearly, though, then in the camp that this is ownership driven, financial driven. There can be no other explanation. There's no way that you don't talk to Jason Kidd about, well, I mean, this isn't a Christian Wood level move.
Right.
Because they certainly didn't consult each other on that move.
Right.
And I would have thought that was part of Nico's learning curve on, you know what? Maybe I should be talking to the coach about the roster I put together so that he's not subtweeting me during every press conference talking about how the players that I've been given suck.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'd love to be a defensive team, but.
By the way, he's a Laker too, I think.
Christian Wood?
Isn't he currently still a Laker?
Is he? I thought he was out of the league.
I think he's on the Lakers.
There you go.
So Luka gets to play with him again.
That is a very funny twist to this that I had not considered because he definitely hated playing with Christian Wood. And it's funny just reading about the Lakers part of this, the backstory. There was about a week and a half ago, the Brow came out and was like, we need another big because I'm better when I'm playing the 4. And, a year ago, it was them asking LeBron around the trade deadline of hey, what do you think the team should be doing right now? And his answer was, you know what the fuck they should be doing. And that has basically carried into this year where LeBron and Anthony Davis have not so subtly been like, you got to go get us more. Where the team is like, we did that. And it was one of the worst basketball experiments we've ever witnessed with Russell Westbrook there. So there's been this like Anthony Davis and LeBron against Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss thing kind of brewing. And Jeannie Buss is apparently not too thrilled that she constantly has to deal with these guys complaining in the media. So you got them a massive get out of jail free card. Because LeBron could leave. LeBron could leave this offseason if he wanted to. I doubt he now will, but he could. So they had their own problems, and you just bailed them out.
Maybe they're happy if he does. Well, I don't know about that. But they have their next one, and that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeannie Buss is going to be like, look, Luka, you know how we treat superstars. We give them everything. And you will have everything. And I can't even believe you left a place that wouldn't want to give you the Supermax. We can't do that, because they're not allowed to.
Right.
That was the way that you could get, your team could retain you.
You know why that the league is set up that way?
So
you can keep the players you drafted and have an advantage in doing so.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Like most teams every team is trying to keep. If you get a Luka, a LeBron, a Steph, just somebody like this, you don't want them to be able to leave so easily. So you can offer more. And that's apparently what the Mavs' new owners didn't want to do. That's the only thing I can see as to how this kind of makes sense. They're not into basketball. They're not into good feelings. They don't care about that. They care about the bottom line. Just the money.
What? Okay, so just the money.
But
he's got some crazy degenerative medical condition. What do you think on?
We're hoping on that, yeah.
On Nico sleeper cell.
Well, I know Nico's a big Anthony Davis fan. He worked with him, and
he was his rep.
With Nike.
Also worked with Pelinka a lot, who was Kobe's agent. But my point is, first of all, that seems way too just like dastardly that this whole thing is some sort of inside job. Like it just seems nakedly obvious if that were to be the case. But also, if I were Jeannie Buss, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Why would I fire Rob Pelinka? He actually just executed the best trade in NBA history. So did you do this with like a wink, wink, nod, nod? Like, Rob, you're going to be gone. Nico's coming in if you agree to do this. I don't know. I don't buy that. This is the type of shit, to be honest with you, that if you're a basketball lifer and you care about guys like Kyrie and Klay Thompson, who you brought here, you fucking changed their entire lives and brought them here, sold them on the vision around Luka Doncic. This is the type of thing where if ownership comes to you and says, this is what we want you to do, you quit on the spot. And you know what you are? A hero. You're a hero. You do an interview and you're like, I'm not on board with what they're trying to get me to do. This is against what I signed up for. I signed up to bring, a basketball team to a very good fan base that enjoys it, supports it. It's a mutual, reciprocated relationship. And you're aware of how much this will wreck that, and you resign. You don't need the money. You just leave. You do not follow through with the code red. You just leave. That's how bad this is. And for him, instead, apparently, he was like, yeah, let me see what I can get for him. And
unless we're to believe that this was actually Nico's idea.
It's being sold that way.
But, yeah, just the fact that he even brought up the Supermax tells me right there.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, that's viewed as a benefit for teams.
Yeah.
That you get to keep this awesome player. He can't just go get a higher bid elsewhere.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
My
just
interest in the
notes.
Mavs has done a 180.
No,
I've been barely watching them while Luka's been hurt.
There's been a lot going on with the Cowboys.
Just because Luka's been hurt. And
he's been hurt. Yeah, and it's not just him, right? Like Lively's easily their third most important player, and he's out. Kyrie was in and out. But
and I loved, yes, you had this thing you were building. You add a savvy veteran around. You've made some great trades, but you have your guy, your homegrown superstar hero. You've added Lively. I can't wait to see them together when they're both in their 30s.
I would be pinching myself all the time.
With a couple of championships.
Dude, PJ's only 25. Gafford, I'm like, 25, 26 years old. Like, these are not old players. Najee Marshall's 27 or something. Quentin Grimes. These are players who are his age and right around his age. And the other thing, too, is unless I'm just getting completely gaslit by everybody I know who covers the team and probably more specifically works for the team, I have not heard anything about him being like a pain in the ass. Now, is he going to be as amenable as like J.J. Barea was or Yogi Ferrell? Probably not. But he's, for a player of that caliber, I've not heard anybody say like, fuck, this guy sucks. He sucks to be around. It's a drag and a drain on everyone. Like you've said before, Kyrie was in his time in Cleveland, that he actually was a very immature guy who made people around him feel bad at that time. And you'll hear about that. I heard that about Christian Wood. You'll hear that about certain guys. When they're like that, you hear about it. So unless I've just had that information completely withheld from me regarding Luka, that's not a thing.
You know people inside the Mavs.
I go to the Mavs office every week.
And I've never heard any of that stuff either.
No.
But I did about certain people when they were here.
So it's a thing.
Yeah, early on. I heard Christian Wood.
Yeah.
And that pained me because I liked Christian Wood. But oh, really? Oh, okay. You hear about if guys are bad guys or bad teammates, or the worst thing about Luka is just how much he wanted to win.
Right. Even his negative actions, like the yelling at the refs thing, you're like, all right, I wish you didn't do that, but I get it. Now the conditioning thing, I could get where a team would be frustrated by that.
But he's not.
He's
not Zion fat.
No, and he's not Zion hurt either. We're acting like this is Kawhi or Paul George or Joel Embiid or hell, to an extent, Anthony Davis for some amount of time.
We're acting like it was Paul George who got 8 first-rounders, including MVP candidates.
That's a funny thing, too. I saw one of the Clippers blogs tweet out a celebration video holy shit, we're no longer the worst trade in NBA history. The SGA trade. So, yeah, I haven't heard that about Luka. But on the conditioning front, what I was going to say is if it was that bad, I feel like you had to at least start the conversation with him of this is so bad, we're so pissed off at you that if this doesn't get better, we're going to trade you. And apparently, if he was shocked by it, they hadn't even really intimated that. You know what I mean? Like, think about any relationship you have. If you're like bothered by something to a point where you're going to end it and it's a relationship you care about, you probably owe it to yourself and the other party to sit down beforehand and be like, this ain't right. I don't like where this is headed. And if some stuff doesn't change, we're going to be looking in a different direction. You at least figure that part out. You don't blindside him and like, yeah, dude, tough shit. We don't see you getting any healthier. And your habits suck at 25. It's unconscionable.
If financials aren't the basis, then there is no real logical. I mean, I also think financials is not a logical reason because I think he would have been worth it in the long run, no matter what.
Like, read this quote from Sam Amick this morning. And all this time later, the Lakers owner, Jeannie Buss, clearly growing tired of this disgruntled dance and the chance of a basketball lifetime presented by a Dallas Mavericks team that was quietly desperate to move on from Luka Doncic. Desperate. Sam Amick from The Athletic is like one of the most plugged-in guys in the game, and he's using the word desperate. Like, that the Mavericks over the last month, Nico, had resolved to, we're fucking moving this guy. It's going to happen.
Only to this team?
No, well, he just
Apparently,
says desperate, but the results and the reporting would indicate that they didn't exactly open it up to 29 others.
But yeah, obviously
others.
Desperate in that the Lakers could be like not 2 first-rounders.
Right. They have you over a barrel.
You can't have the 2031.
There's,
I might rather have the 2031.
Yeah, they may be bad by then.
Because in 2029, Luka will be on that team.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You get a Luka and you're like, well, I can somehow build around that. Like, Luka dragged a shitty team
Oh, my God.
to the conference finals. And to the Mavs' credit, they didn't say, you know what, we're pretty good here. We got to the conference finals. We'll probably get back. They didn't. They said we need to add. We need to make some crazy trades. We need to do stuff. They give them great credit for that.
Hell, they let Brunson go.
Yeah, but so now you make it to the finals. And to their immediate credit, they still knew we need to add, and they did so in the offseason.
Yeah, they were tinkering on the edges in a way.
But the whole point is you just had this one guy. You could build around him in different ways. That's what the Lakers are thinking now. Like, what's their future? I don't know. Like LeBron, I don't know how many years he has left, but now I have this guy. And I get, like, we can just play around him, and we're going to be at least a certain amount of good because we have him.
Yeah, it's not he's the type of good that no matter what his deficiencies are, you don't trade him to try to address them. So he's not a good defender. It doesn't matter. What all comes out in the wash is that he's one of the 5 best players in the league and he wants to play for you. That's it. End of story.
All I've thought since he landed here is how fortuitous is this? How lucky that it's getting Aaron Rodgers right after you have Brett Favre. It's not fair. It's really not fair that you had Dirk and now you got this guy and he's even better than Dirk.
You didn't have to suck that hard to get him.
No.
He just fell here. The random.
You didn't have to do a Wizards 10 years in a row of.
Yeah, or the Sixers, where you're just like, fuck, man,
yeah,
5
you didn't have to have
we
a
took
process.
a shot. Yeah. No, the random number generator that is life's algorithm spit this into your city randomly. You're just like, oh, whoa, you got this guy? Didn't have to lose 100 games or over 2 seasons.
And he's infectious. His smile,
the way he plays,
his swagger, the deep three, the step back,
that falls into your lap. Like that as a fan, something like that might happen once in your entire sports life. There's a lot of people who never have that happen in their city ever.
And when you lose it, it's on their terms and you're heartbroken.
Yeah, because you're Cleveland and nobody wants to play there. Except
and even
it's
that
Dallas.
was LeBron had signed 2 contracts.
Yeah,
and then
KD in Oklahoma City
decided to leave on his own, and they did everything they could, and he was like, look, you're just not putting enough around me in the end. And then you kind of you feel a little sad for the franchise. You're like, oh. But, I could understand LeBron's point there, and I felt sad for the Cavs, too, that you had to lose a LeBron like that. I don't feel sad for the Mavs right now, no matter what happens. I think
don't either.
They deserve everything.
And that's why I don't know what to do.
Like,
as far as what we do, what I do, what I don't care. I don't blame anybody. I've actually never had a situation that I looked at and thought it's okay if you just bail on your team and pick another until now. Like the Cavs one with LeBron is as close as I've ever been, but this one is worse.
All right, positives.
Okay.
This is for you personally. Has this now become the number 1 worst Pro Bowl day in your life?
Yeah. It somehow got worse.
The first Pro Bowl day, for those who don't know, is the day your mom told you and her and your dad were going to get a divorce.
That is true.
During the Pro Bowl.
That is true. Yeah. And
now, you wake up on this Pro Bowl morning.
I got to be honest, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here. At the time, which is probably just means that I wasn't that aware of what was going on in the world. I don't remember feeling this bad. 32 years ago.
You were telling me something earlier. You're like, did you see Windhorse? What did Windhorse have again?
Let me see if I can find it and play it on the fly. I don't know if that'll work, but
you remember what we were talking about?
Yeah. Let me try this one and see if it'll play. Because he said that a player texted him and said that the player texted him do you know how much the Mavericks must hate Luka Doncic?
A player texted him and said that.
Yeah, because there's no way you get traded.
I know that there's a temptation to focus on the Lakers here because they potentially just acquired the next great Laker, and it's an amazing story when you look at the history of their franchise. But the story of the moment and what my phone is filling up with is the reaction to the Dallas Mavericks making this move. I had an all-star, current NBA all-star text me and say, do you know how much the Mavericks must hate Luka? I mean, this is what they're talking about in the league. I've had, veteran coaches text me and say they can't believe they saw this. They just have never seen anything like this. And
all right, that's probably enough. By the way, after many, many years of me saying I respected him for being on television and just kind of sticking with being Wendy's losing weight.
Is he on the pick?
I haven't heard that, but he definitely looks thinner. He looks younger.
Well, maybe he's starting to think about his mortality, as people do when they hit their 40s or so.
Yeah, and they do that also when you trade away one of the things that brings you joy in life, because I'm thinking about it today. What's the point of this? And by this, I mean any of it.
Mavs down 43.
I forgot to look and see what the spread was before the game because a couple buddies are like, it doesn't matter what it is. Take the Cavs.
It had to be under 43, right?
I'm willing to bet it was under 43. Yeah.
Does it say? It doesn't say once the game gets going, does it? Let's just see. Look at the game cast. Might that tell us?
Yeah, maybe. But
what do you think of the Sunday stream? It's all right. Can we take the rest of the week off?
No, I think we've got stuff.
11.5.
Yeah, that seems like more than 11.5.
Oh, now the in-game spread is now 44.5. I guess they adjust that as the game goes on.
Yeah, okay. You're not allowed to get points if your team is up.
Jump on 11.5 right now.
No, I don't think so.
Damn, because that seems like really good value for me.
The fact that the Mavs called them, the fact that he didn't know, the fact that they then tried to somehow push, I guess it was Nico, to Tim McMahon that it's about his conditioning. And Dave McMenamin from ESPN this morning that he's up over 260 while he's out. Just fucking save it.
Yeah, I don't care.
All that sort of
I don't care if he said, you know
posturing.
what, I'm actually just liking it being out, and I just want to sit out the rest of the year.
Take your time.
All right.
You've unfortunately had the leverage to do that. Because we've seen other guys do it. We've seen plenty of other guys do it. That's what makes having a superstar in the NBA hard. You don't then just be like, hey, that grenade, what if we put it in our pocket? That's what they did. That's all I got, man. We'll be live tomorrow at 11:11, right?
I don't know.
Come on. We'll be live tomorrow at 11:11. Check out dmagazine.com in the morning.
So what about 7-7 or 7-8? That's no longer Luka Day?
I think it's 7. Is it 7-6 or 7-7? I'm not sure. But
Well, it's either 7-6 or 7-8
Yeah,
because
that's-
7-7 was the police shooting.
yeah, so maybe we'll have to travel to LA for it. Or we could celebrate it, at least this year, like, on July 6th, we do our own Jan 6th. But we just,
What's Anthony Davis's number?
right now,
I don't even care.
I mean, I know
I
he's
don't
won
even
a couple
care about
different-
Anthony Davis. I don't care at all.
No.
Like if you had said I acquired Anthony Davis to pair with
right now.
Luka,
Yeah.
like Luka is just
I mean, to be honest with you, if you had told me you wanted to trade Kyrie for Anthony Davis, I would have been in on that. It's tough,
sure.
but I would have been in on that. This, no. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Other than this has been very therapeutic. I'm incredibly, incredibly bummed.
Are you doing your Mavs TV thing tomorrow morning? Do you record on Monday or no?
Yeah, we do. I guess as of right now, yeah, that's the plan.
That's going to be a tough deal for people who work for the Mavs.
I know.
Like,
I know. And look,
you
I'm
got
not.
your Followell always tries to put on something happy when he goes on the ticket. I think this has to be killing Coop because he knows this sucks.
It does, other than, Coop did have a very Coop tweet of like, this sucks, but it is, great for the league. Very exciting trade. It's like, dude, come on. Let's not try to find the
Go
other.
hang my league banner.
Hang your Nielsen ratings banner. That's all I got, man.
All right.
Adios, mofo.
We gotta go before this becomes a zoo.
Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe and type for my name if you want to watch more of my videos.